What's going on, sports card hobby family? It is another day. It is another sports card video. We are back again. Hope everyone is doing amazingly well. If you're new here, you're looking for daily sports card collectibles content.
You take the card and put it in the sleeve.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and also connect with me on IG at Sports Card Dad. We're going to be talking about making the case for a sports card bull market surge. Woo! In 2024. We're going to walk through a little bit of data. I made a video going back, a day or two ago, talking about how I expect a lot of sports card prices to move downward in 2024. And the great thing about these sorts of predictions is because the card industry, because the card market is so complex and there's so much nuance that there's cards always going up and there's cards that are always going down, I'm right on both fronts. Because there will be cards that come down in 2024, and there certainly will be cards that go up in 2024. But we're going to talk about some data that's emerging that is looking a little bit more bullish for asset prices. It could mean that we see a little bit of a rebound in the sports card collectibles world. Before I get started, huge thanks to today's video sponsor, COMC.com, your home for buying, selling, and flipping all the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace now home to over 33 million cards from baseball's biggest stars like Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, and Mookie Betts to Marvel favorites like Spider-Man, Thor, and Captain America. COMC has something for every type of collector, so make sure to visit my link down below in the video description as well as in the pinned comments to start your COMC journey today. All right, friends, there has been some whispers and more data that is coming out and talking about how there is an expectation of rate decreases by the Federal Reserve in 2024. There was one that was thrown up here, unusual whales. They have some good headlines, and then they also kind of twist headlines around a little bit to make things sound a certain way. I think they've got a little bit of an agenda, just like every other news station on the planet. But one that they throw up here is that ING has speculated they expect 6 rate decreases in 2024. My expectation when they say 6 is probably quarter point, 0.25 decreases, not like we're dropping it a point, or half a point. I think it probably means small incremental ones, but they're thinking 6, which would be pretty dramatic, frankly. We are coming off of 20 months of increasing rates. The Fed has been increasing rates since March of 2022, which, man, it feels like an eternity. It's almost 2 years, and that almost coincides with when sports cards really started to take a dip. Really kind of towards the end of 2021, we saw it happening. Collectibles started to decrease. You saw a lot of people moving money out of collectibles and in other places, anticipating, I think, higher interest rates, and then it's like, man, I just need to put my money in the bank, put it in a money market, get that 4, 5, 6% with very limited risk. Sounds good, I think, for a lot of people, especially big money folks. Now, I made the video a couple of days ago. I still stand by, I think there's a lot of cards that are high end or perceived as high end that are living in the high end price bucket that really shouldn't be there. And there's going to be further correction on those types of cards. And a lot of them are not very rare, or there's more graded supply coming out on these particular cards. And so, like we talk about, this is a highly complex market, collectibles, with so many moving parts that the Fed raising, decreasing rates, that's not the only factor. It's a factor. It certainly is a factor, because if they decrease rates, they're obviously not going to drop them down to zero like what they were for a long time. But if they drop them down, it's going to create bullish sentiment. That's what typically happens. Or just the idea, and that's kind of what we're seeing now. We're seeing crypto is on a massive run here recently. I've got my crypto account. I'm checked it. I'm like, it's back from the dead. There's definitely a short-term crypto bull run that just kind of came out of nowhere. So again, this stuff is so volatile. It could go any different way. But what we have seen here recently in the news, it could mean higher sentiment. It could mean more positive sentiment on asset prices. If the Fed says, all right, I feel pretty good about where interest rates are, maybe we start to pull back. Because here's the other thing that they're doing. They're trying to really put pressure on the economy. They're trying to put their foot down to slow down inflation. But if they put it down too hard, too fast, etc., then it puts us into a recession. They're trying to achieve that soft landing, which means that we don't hit a full-blown recession where unemployment shoots up and everything else. And so this is kind of the balancing act that they're doing. And so if they decrease rates, it does kind of pull things back in line a little bit. It gives people some more positive sentiment. Businesses start borrowing again at lower rates. And that's kind of how the machine goes. The other thing I want to touch on, this is also just kind of a side topic that I thought would be interesting to discuss. Shout out to Bobbles and Ball Cards. We were discussing this in Discord channel this morning. But kind of going back and forth, cards going to be relevant over the long term, 20 years from now. What is it going to look like? And one thing that my wife had pointed out at this last national that we were just at in Chicago is she said, holy cow, there is so many more young people here than what there was 2 years ago. She did not go to Atlantic City. She went to Chicago going back 2 years, 2021. And of course, it's mainly middle-aged dudes. It's mainly males, and now you've got such a more diverse mix and a lot more young people that were here. And the thing that I just kind of think about is the dads, the sons, the moms that are bringing their kids to the card shop, the card show. There's so much more of that, which does remind me of what it did look like in 1990. If you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, it was just a lot of young people. Yes, you had adults that were speculating, not like what we have today, but there certainly were adults that were coming in and speculating on cards. It absolutely was the case. But now we are seeing there is evidence there that the next generation is getting involved. They're buying, selling, trading. And what does this typically mean? In 20 years, 25 years, maybe 30 years for some of these folks, they're going to be my age. And guess what? They're going to look around and be like, wow, the world's changed. I've got so many responsibilities now. What did I used to do as a kid that made me happy, that brought me happiness?
I feel very strongly that there are too many baseball card companies since 1985 in the market. There's 6 or 7 major companies right now. I like the spirit of the Tops and the original Bowmans back in the late 40s and into the 50s and 60s.
And of course, it led a lot of us back here. For me, it was 2018, about 5 years ago, almost 6, where I got back into collectibles, and it's been an amazing ride. And I think it happens all over again. The interesting thing that we're all speculating on is kind of what are the cards of today that we expect to hold value in 20, 25, 30 years? What will people collect? What will be the collecting styles? Because frankly, there are certain hobby norms that have changed over time based on what the manufacturing has done, based on third-party grading. What sorts of technological advances will come over the next 10, 15, 20 years that could impact what happens with cards. And so there's so many question marks, but again, makes it fun to kind of figure out. A lot of people speculate, like, what are the inserts of today that will be the 90s inserts of tomorrow? And people speculate on downtowns and kabooms. Maybe, maybe not. We won't know until we get there, but that's all part of the fun. But the one thing that just stands out to me is the amount of young people that are excited, that are getting into this, that are participating. These are all people that will be our age at some point. We've also seen a massive rise in TCG, where of course you do have young people that are interested in sports cards, but they're also interested in opening up Pokemon cards or other trading card games. And will there be another trading card TCG set that comes out that everybody flocks to? These are all very interesting things that are going to play itself out, but the industry has not slowed down. I mean, if you look at, we talked about grading, we talked about shows, and we've been in kind of a funky, high interest rate economic market, like a lot of layoffs and different things. And it still continues on. It's still I would still consider this part of the sports card boom if we're looking at it over a period of time. There's still a ton of interest and a ton of participation. It's just we've seen a lot of high-end, mid-end cards that have dropped down in price that needed to correct. And then, of course, the X factor is you've got a huge conglomerate of a company, Fanatics, and Michael Rubin doesn't get into business to lose money.
The empire is on the verge of success.
He just doesn't. I mean, if you look at kind of what he's done over time, and not to say this is going to be an amazing success and he's going to 10x and do all the things that he wants to do on the collectible side, but he sure as hell is going to go down hard trying. I don't think he's trying to lose money if he's trying to IPO potentially. This is a guy that runs a billion-dollar company getting into the space, in control of all the licenses, all friends with the players, friends with celebrities. There's never been a more high-profile individual that is in this sports card collectibles market than there is Michael Rubin, and there might never will be again. He is arguably the most powerful person in sports, as a whole. Controls the apparel company, controls the collectibles arm of it now as well. So you've just got a lot of factors that point to this being a relevant space in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It's all just going to come down to how are people collecting, what do they put value on, and that is a fun thing to speculate on. All right, guys, that's all I've got today for the bull case of sports card collecting over time. Hope you all have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.